Well, Kodai Senga may have 2 years remaining on his Mets contract, but it's no lock he's going to be back in a Mets uniform in 2026. It really was a tale of two seasons for Kodai Senga this past year. Through his first 14 starts, he put up an ERA of $1.39, held opponents to a sub-200 batting average, and then after he came back from the hamstring injury, he pitched so unreliably, he eventually accepted a demotion back to AAA Syracuse. So when it comes to Kodai Senga, Andy, how do you assess his future?
A future ex-Met?
You think so?
I'm being a little bit pithy, but it's definitely true that he's being discussed in trade talks. There's interest in Kodai Senga around the league right now because of his upside and because of what we've seen when he's at his best. There's certainly a rational line of thinking that would point to a change of scenery after the last 2 years, kind of maybe being the best for player and team. It is not a definite that he's going to be traded, but there's going to be so many moving parts coming into the Mets rotation. They hope and they plan that Kodai Senga leaving could certainly be part of the overall overhaul, and I don't think it's going to be a problem finding a trade.
Would you be concerned, Keith, about selling Kodai Senga, which would be selling him really low?
Yeah, I think that could be against what David Stearns would like to do. I know we've talked about Jeff McNeil in the past. That would be selling low on him. They didn't. They tried to turn him into what they could for the last few years. But I don't think it's as low as maybe most people would think. It's not like he's coming off a Tommy John surgery. His elbow's been bugging him. It felt like it was that play at first base, the hamstring, never built that strength back. And so I think as far as an arm is concerned, he's still elite. The days that he pitched, he was an ace. Of course, not the second half of the season, like you said, Gary. So can you flip him to somebody like the St. Louis Cardinals for Wilson Contreras to play first base? If you look at two guys that have about the same salary, about $15-17 million a year, that might be a little bit front-loaded for the Mets to get a nice return back. Might have to throw somebody else in. But I think teams would be interested in an ace-like potential, fresh start, and still somewhat healthy. If you get him healthy, you get him right, I think you got a good Senga.
Yeah, that's
when he's on, he's unbelievable.
Right, it's a big if, though, right?
Yeah, totally.
He was not good when he came back from the injury last year. Todd, what about you? Do you believe Senga can return to his form from his rookie season?
You know, Gary, this is the thing that's so perplexing about Kodai Senga, is I can honestly sit here and watch him and say, I don't know. He could be the best pitcher in Major League Baseball. He could never pitch for the Mets again. He could never be good again. And it's hard to tell. And I think that's the thing that's so perplexing, because it's not necessarily stuff. It's not necessarily arm strength. It's certainly been injury plagued, but when he's healthy, he's got one of the best pitches and one of the most elite pitches in all of baseball. He can get away with that pitch if he's got the other things to go with it. I think the thing that's so confusing about Kodai Senga is it's not necessarily physical that that reaches his limitations. It's whether or not he feels like he's ready to go, whether or not he feels like his mechanics are sound. And that's a tough thing for anybody to really assess what you're getting from him or what you might get out of him.
Guys, just watching him in 23, that season where we just didn't know exactly what was going to happen. I mean, I remember a start he had against the Arizona Diamondbacks, a team that just a couple of weeks later went to the World Series. I mean, he carved them up, and we're going, this guy is a steal. Billy Epler found another great Japanese pitcher coming over, but the Mets had, as Todd said, had no idea what to expect from Kodai Senga. I'd asked Carlos Mendoza before our pregame interviews, hey, can we do an update on Senga? He goes, I just don't have one. And that's really where the Mets were in the last year and a half with Kodai Senga, which is so frustrating because you can't sit him down an injury and figure this out. Nobody knows.
Yeah, that's the thing I think that really makes him so perplexing and such a gamble to either keep him or potentially trade him at the place that he is right now. Well, the Frankie Montas signing last offseason turned out to be a really bad one for the New York Mets. It culminated with the Mets DFAing him this past week. Montas signed that 2-year, $34 million deal. He appeared in just 9 games. The ERA was over 6. He then underwent Tommy John surgery, and that ended his Mets tenure. So we know the Mets need frontline starting pitching this offseason, whether it be Skubal or Alcantara, Peralta, Valdez, Suarez. So what do you know? The latest on the starting pitching market, the high-end starting pitching market, Andy.
The high end of the starting pitching free agency market is not much this year. It's not a great offseason to be looking for an ace in free agency, and we'll get to some of the specific names. I mean, there are guys out there that are solid like Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen, and I'd keep an eye on them. But the Mets want top of the rotation. They understand that it's a trade market that's probably more likely to provide that than the free agency market this year. But having said that, coming out of the GM meetings, as of right now, The industry does not believe that Tarek Skubal is available in a trade. Could change, but he's not available right now. Freddie Peralta, not necessarily available. Now, people that know the Brewers organization think that they'll at least listen on Peralta, even though they're saying right now that they won't. But the fact is, if you wanted to trade for Freddie Peralta right now, you can't. He's not on the block. So this is going to take some patience, too, or some creativity to figure out exactly who to get.